Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting episode of As the Crypto Stomach Churns. What? No. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Broiler Chicken Show. This is our fun weekend look at crypto. Probably not going to concentrate so much on the broader market, and our little algo engine has the S&P 500 chart on the ill anyway, so it's probably best that we leave the broader stock market for today. It is interesting to watch. Obviously, everybody's quite interested in crypto and Bitcoin and a whole bunch of fundamental events that are coming up here that are probably going to drive price. So that's primarily probably what we're going to talk about here today. And as well, you know, a lot of our community, whether you know or don't know, but we do buy up quite a few. Interesting. Tanjay, you were just on the YouTube page and it's not working. So maybe, oh, I see this says there's 15 people, 16 people over there now. So we'll keep an eye on it. Maybe somebody over on the YouTube page just type something in the lounge and let me know whether you're actually seeing this or not. But I do see that page is... He's in 17 people, so the number is rising. Anyway, we're probably going to spend a bunch of time looking at Bitcoin today and then take a look at a few of the alts. And what I like to do on our site on a fairly regular basis is make these, and keep in mind we do these videos on a daily basis, about an hour long, every Monday to Friday. So hey, there we are. I see some people on YouTube are chiming in. Hello, Evil Ferris. Yeah, great name. Bueller. Bueller? Is that the same Ferris? Anyway, nice to see you. Welcome. Hope you enjoy the broadcast. So we'll probably take a look at a few altcoins through today because I like to make sure the site members of all of their questions asked, and at the very least, you know what Brian's thinking. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's anything guaranteed about performance out of that, but at least to get my 2 cents. So let's hit the ground running, and of course, let's go. And always a good idea for us to start at the higher time frames whenever looking at assets. Just try and put price into perspective. I think it's pretty easy, the conclusion that we can draw here. Bitcoin is in a parabolic face rip move up, no doubt about it. Easy, the conclusion that we can draw. I can hear myself talking. Either I'm going crazy or somebody has the mute off. Oh, I see. Rocker just decided to bail. All right. Well, it was awfully nice having you in the lounge, Rocker. And by all means, you know, you guys in the lounge, if you have a specific question, just chime in. I'm more than happy to interact with you. One reason I actually, hey, Rocker's back. Rocker, if you could just throw yourself on mute, I'd appreciate it. Then that way Brian doesn't think that he's hearing voices in his head. Okay, so once upon a time in a land far, far away, we have a cryptocurrency asset that I actually believe is, and actually maybe not a bad idea. Let's see if we can blow TradingView up here. Not a bad idea that we sort of put everything into context. Somebody decided they wouldn't like to hear me anymore? How long ago? How long have I been talking to myself? Anyway, did you guys hear me the first rant about this? All right, I see Mo's in there typing away. Okay, now 30 seconds. Anyway, so I loaded up this chart. I don't know whether you heard me talking or not. Somebody in the lounge decided to mute me, but anyway, let's try and refrain from that, please. And this is a the green line, the dark green line on here is the US dollar index. The red line is a basket of commodities. In this particular case, the textbook definition is called the Dow Jones Commodity Index. And the light green line is Bitcoin. And I just found it really interesting. I like to check in on this because historically what should happen, commodities priced in US dollars, if the US dollar index bottoms, implying that the US dollar itself is getting more valuable relative to its trading partners, quite often we see the price of commodities fall. And it might not necessarily be we hate commodities right now. It's just more of a fact that the US dollar is getting revalued higher, and these things are priced in US dollars. And so as a result, their prices have to fall. And conversely, quite often we see, tops in the US dollar index and bottoms in commodity indexes often coincide as well. It's a very normal, very natural relationship, but something went wrong here. And it's interesting that this was basically Mr. Trump's inauguration right here. And Republican presidents are never friendly to the US dollar anyway. If we think about who their constituents are, big business would prefer to have a weaker US dollar to make their products more competitive on the world stage. If we think about farmers, right, typically vote right-wing Republican. They want higher commodity prices, so let's knock the US dollar down to get higher commodity prices. So it really shouldn't surprise us that basically day one of Mr. Trump's presidency, the US dollar is under attack. Big surprise. What a shock. What I found really interesting about this particular break was the fact that the commodities themselves just really, they couldn't buy a friend through this. Historically, what should have happened was the commodity prices should have gone up. But something else came along here and basically just sucked up all the capital fleeing the US dollar. And that's our beloved Bitcoin. And, make no mistake about it. In fact, Jeremy, I don't know whether you have it handy, but Jeremy likes to keep track of the total market cap of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And, there's no fooling it. It's as plain as day. A lot of money is pouring into this space. And I think this is an excellent testament, and I'll just grab this chart if you want it. I think this is an excellent testament of just Bitcoin just basically eating the rest of the crypto space's lunch. So I threw that chart in the lounge if you want it. Here is Jeremy's offering of the total market capitalization. I mean, this is serious money pouring into this space, guys. And make no mistake about it. And historically, I think. And for the YouTube audience, not a bad idea. We'll give you a little bit of a sort of market history lesson. What usually should happen, we're at a very important sort of juncture on the long-term demographic cycles, and I like to call these the fear-greed cycles. But in essence, what we should see happen. Hold on, let me find the damn chart. All right, what we should see happen is a general flow out of paper assets. This is a long-term Dow gold ratio. Flow out of paper assets into hard assets through these sort of panic cycle peaks. Here was 1980, for example. That was the last demographic cycle pivot. What we like to call the fear cycle. This is the current baby boomer generation. It's interesting how long ago I drew this chart, right? I actually drew this chart in 2011. Well, guess where we are now, folks? We are right at the apex of one of these cycles. I think it's extremely dangerous to your health, to your psychology, to your pocketbook to try and actually pick these tops and bottoms, they are just going to come. What we really need to do as investors is just simply see the message of the market, right? See the forest through the trees. And you know, what's really interesting is gold hit, you know, nice low levels here through the 2007-2008 crisis, that sort of pivot. But interestingly enough, coming out the backside of this, like I said, somebody's come along and eating gold's lunch right now. And the interesting thing is, if we go back and we look at how gold acted in the last fear cycle, right? That's this nutso spike here. And the interesting thing is, and I even remember this, I'm old enough to remember this, you could have bought one Dow Jones Industrial Unit for the price of 1 ounce of gold. That was, you know, it was hyperinflation days. It was Iran hostage days. I don't know whether you guys remember those days. It was following the Nixon, you know, lack of confidence in political system days, and, you know, Gerald Ford and like I said, Carter and his nightmare administration with the Iranians. So, you know, there were contextual, Nixon was a little bit earlier than that, but nonetheless, it sort of set the tone of lack of confidence in the system. Does that make sense, Mo? The point here is that this was the apex of that particular cycle. And if we actually look at the price of gold itself, what we actually see is a lot of similarities here, guys. And, you know, for regular site members and stuff, I consistently talk to them. In fact, I put a tweet out the other day. There was one gentleman that we did a public YouTube presentation for. I thought it was really interesting. Carpe Noctum, I think was his name. Really interesting guy. It's interesting. He's all jazzed about Ichimoku. So now on the lounge, every second bloody charts Ichi charts. I made my comments about Ichi in the lounge this morning, so, you know, take them for whatever it's worth. But the long and short of it here is, this was the last fear cycle apex, 1980. And this is the way that the asset du jour, the sexy asset, the asset that was sort of in the spotlight as sort of get me the hell out of the fiat currency system, it's a mess. Hyperinflation days, Volcker's war on inflation, blah, 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 blah. Do you see anything similar going on right now? Does this chart kind of look slightly like this chart? Just a little bit? Maybe? Just a tad? And then, of course, you know, we go back and we look at our Bitcoin's eating gold's lunch. Does it make sense why Bitcoin's acting the way it is, given where we are in this demographic cycle? I think it makes perfect sense. And if anything, what I'd really hope, and this is kind of why I put this out on YouTube today, is you all understand the context of what the heck it is we're getting involved in here. You know, especially the public coming to the market. You have to understand, gold went through a 20-year bear market following that peak. So please understand where we are in cycles and trends. Cycles, markets don't act like this on an everyday basis. And there's certainly this kind of price action, if you see it in any kind of asset, and let's just throw it out in the lounge. What do we say? If we pull up an altcoin chart and it looks like this, what do we say? Everybody should know. Yep, there's the first two words. And what is the second two words? Thank you, Jeremy. Too far, too fast. Yeah, I don't know about that one, Payment. So please be cognizant. I mean, the worst part about, and I say this in the lounge, and people are saying, yeah, last show with Josh was awesome. Well, we want him back. Brian, would you just shut up with all this caution talk? But, you know, please, public audience, please be aware of the market that you're getting involved in here. Please. And actually, it's cool because we have one guy in the lounge here who reminds me of it regularly. I had suggested back even in the spring when we were getting going here, don't be in the business of calling tops here. This thing will top where it wants to top when it tops. And kind of like the gold market, the top is probably going to look something like this. Just absolute insanity. Not calling since early 2017. Thank you, Jeremy. And like for the public audience, I've been basically saying, if you're a little old lady and you actually bought Bitcoins where you were supposed to buy them, then you actually should have another sell half on a double order getting ready to get filled here. She's busy at Canasta, of course, and she doesn't want me calling her on a daily basis. But we go up and we tag this level, and she's going to be an awfully happy camper. And the cool part about altcoins is, God, we see so many coins that look like this. This isn't really out of the ordinary what's going on here. It's shocking, don't get me wrong, but if it's one thing I've learned in the 30 years I've worked in this business, number one, you can't write better fiction than reality. It's impossible. You can't. Whatever the ultimate topping story is, and when this thing actually calms down and starts, getting back to quote unquote normal, we won't be able to create the story as wild as it's going to be that actually marks the top here. So don't even try. They can't write better fiction than reality. Whatever the story is going to be, it's going to be incredible. But also, too, there's an old saying in the market that markets often go much further for much longer than anybody ever expects. And, it's interesting, in our TRI team meeting this morning, we were talking a little bit about how, geez, a lot of people that are injecting FUD into the space right now, they're probably the people that have sour grapes because they called tops at 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. And now they're just looking at it going, gee whiz, would this goddamn thing come back down so I can buy back in? I'm very pleased at my sort of very level-headed approach to this space, and we've done very, very well. We've been extremely well rewarded. And the good part about it is, and everybody in the audience in the the public space should understand, I am building a massive cash position. So I am continually paying myself, but at the same time too, I'm in here buying up discounted names. They're just throwing away these altcoins away, and of course, if coins pop, I'm more than happy to take more profits if the market wants to hand me money. So, we at TRI, what I'd really like this to be is sort of that nice little old lady, keep it simple, stupid, don't take a hell of a lot of risk on any trade, and just, rinse and repeat day in, day out. And we've been rewarded very, very well for our efforts. But please understand, too, that about a quarter of this is actually sitting in cash right now. So, I'm actually very flexible. I can play both ways. If we do get a serious correction in Bitcoin, I'm actually in a position where I can buy. Yep, that's right, Daniel. I also think, too, and it was interesting because we were looking at this chart earlier today, it also looks to me like things like gold are starting to turn. And I'm actually very curious, and I've been sort of keeping an eye on it, but we'll be watching. And I think I might just go and buy a little bit more of the gold crypto proxy. If we start Wing here, I could very easily, realistically think about putting some money to work in here. But that's more like sort of diversification, keep us honest, keep us balanced kind of approach. Okay, so that's, I just wanted to give everybody sort of a heads up of where I was thinking with regard to Bitcoin. Heading into the weekend, I was a little concerned, and I think I'm still not totally out of the forest concern-wise on things like OKCoin forwards. And I have to always, always have to look at the OKCoin forwards with a slightly jaundiced eye. Be careful here. But nonetheless, we ran into a harmonic objective here that this is what's called an alt-bat formation. And it was interesting because one of our veterans, who's a really good harmonic trader, Steven, he was suggesting that this setup was working, but it's run out of time on its window. And I find it interesting that the setup that I was, just demo trading for the lounge this morning, it just had its stop hit. So I was worried about tops coming in. No doubt about it. The market, hit the brakes, and then literally, and this is what I found kind of amusing, was in a weird sort of way, you can actually see the real Bitcoin when all of the nefarious players and stuff are all sitting on the sidelines. And I noticed that through the weekend, coming into the U.S. Retail session, they set up these 113s. The market was working, and then all of a sudden, everything just stopped. And it was actually interesting just to watch the blockchain just sort of doing its thing here through this window over, say, the past 24 hours, because I think that actually showed you the real Bitcoin. Every once in a while, we get these little windows where the traders aren't pumping or, manipulating price. And I just find you get these little windows that actually show you the true trend, the true nature of price action. And I noticed that things went very, very quiet through yesterday. And then overnight, they started to settle in. It's just the market couldn't find the buyers that it needed to get this thing going. And literally, we have to understand the market is a pricing mechanism. So what ends up happening in market price, and I've seen this time and time again through my career, is if the market just can't find business to be done at a certain level, well, it will go find that business. And in a weird sort of way, I think that's what happened here with OKCoin, is they just couldn't find anybody who was interested in doing any selling business. The interest just dried up, and so, all right, let's go see if we can find some business to do. One thing I'm worried about here is if we look at the Western exchanges, things like Stamp, they still do have this alt-bat formation working. If anything, though, as Stephen pointed out, the sort of time fib series for this alt-bat to be validated is running out of sort of justifiable existence, if you will. I was worried because last weekend they kind of did this, and you all remember this nice little FU move. SegWit 2.x whatever is going to be canceled. Everybody's rah bull, and that unfortunately was a trap, and boom, down she goes. So I was worried about this. I'm a little worried that this 113 hasn't been hit here, and have they laid a trap. Now, this is actually a really great sort of testament to looking at your internal indicators and trying to sort of listen to the market as to whether things are just getting going or maybe things are running out of steam. I do like the fact that we've put in this double bottom here in the hourly momentum. That's encouraging. I do like the fact that my oscillator seems to have oscillated back to the bull side. For those people that are short-term trading the market, we like to follow this RSI model. And really, and I had posted this in the lounge this morning, for all you short-term traders, I think that this move right here that we're seeing here hinges on this cute little W. This little cute little W is given, right, and she starts rolling over, then I think your rally's toast. So you want a nice simple little proxy to measure how far this thing can run. And of course, keep in mind that, yes, we are breaking the new highs, but we're not breaking the new highs on RSI. So, if we put in an M here and start failing through this line, then I think your bull trend is done. And all you short-term traders, you better be damn quick, on the trigger here. For now, let's just go with the inertia. She's pointing up. Let's see where the wind blows us. But 8250, going to be keeping a real laser beam focus on that price action. And if we can just simply accept higher here, then I feel confident that we're rocking and rolling. I put out actually a really cool little chart, and I just did it off of Mex because I happen to just have that chart loaded. But we're at a really interesting juncture here. This is, you could call this a bull flag, bull pennant, whatever you like. What I did notice was basically through the weekend there, and I'm just going off of that low there. But basically through the weekend here, we had this nice consolidation. Like I said, you can really sort of see what the real Bitcoin is when things go really, really quiet. And you can see this thing it just kept Wing. So there was just like a release of energy here. You could just feel it was on, if anything, some people have asked me, Brian, what does a coil look like? What does it mean? This is, if anything, a really good example of a coil where everything is getting compressed into some sort of apex. They usually say the rule of thumb usually is this coil breaks 2/3 the apex. So it's interesting. I bet a lot of sort of traders and market watchers were really laser beam focused through here. But you can see, you want to call, drawing line. Oh, actually, I already did that. That's funny. You can quite literally see here's literally like a war zone where basically the bulls and bears just went to war. And the bears were dominating. They brought it back down into previous W's. The bulls stepped up. And then obviously, hindsight's 2020, you can see the bulls carried the day. It would be really interesting to see off of our, momentum indicators. Do we get things like Davos and stuff like that coming in? Gee whiz. So, we have a default RSI indicator. Hopefully everybody can see really good examples of both nice, structural bottoms. I like when I'm trading with oscillators and things like RSI. I like to let an original bottom come in, and then if I'm going to take the trade, I go off of the second bottom that comes in. So I think, your momentum push comes in right here, and that basically corresponds to right there, which actually is not a bad trade location whatsoever. So can you guys see how you get nice momentum signal, nice structural signals, W's, nice location at the very end of a triangle? So anything, I think that makes a lot of sense. Hey, Mo, you remember in level 1 when we did the introduction to technical analysis and triangles? And you see that sort of triangle-y behavior there? So not a bad example. And the interesting thing about this, right, is that if we start just simply thinking about the market in parking garage kind of terms, which I really like to do, because I believe that the market moves in a very sort of orderly fashion. They've identified the bottom end of the range. They identified the top end of the range. If we accept above this range, then here is our next parking garage. And I don't know, YouTubers, let's see if there's anybody over there. Jesus Christ, there's 45 people over there. So does anybody remember Amanda? Who on YouTube can remember? Where does Amanda come from? Maybe even people in the lounge. Can you guys remember where Amanda comes from? Amanda! Yeah, well, I don't know whether we could say that on air. Yeah, but that's right. We had a funny joke about anybody who has been following us on YouTube and the old Coinigy shows and stuff that we used to do. We had a little fun joke about, hey, there they are. Yeah, everybody on the YouTube's now posting it. Yeah. So a cute anecdotal sort of way of thinking about price action. We used to talk about Dash and Amanda's penthouse up at a 400% extension level. But here's just a good, just very simple illustration of this market working in a very structured pattern. And most people don't like to think of markets moving in these structured patterns, because what it really implies is that we humans don't really control our own fate, that a lot of this stuff is predetermined, predestined. Skype has been updated. Well, thank you, Microsoft, for letting me know that. I love how Microsoft just conveniently interrupts your working day. Okay, so the point here is that if we do accept above these levels, and you can see the war is on right now here. Remember we talked about 113s just above here. You can see the battle is raging. You can see the short-term momentum battle is raging. If anything, probably if you're going to follow things like 15-minute charts and stuff like that, I would probably just say let this trend line dictate, the course of action here over the short term. And interestingly, too, we might actually M out here, which would lose this level and bring us right up against that trend line to see whether this thing's for real or not. You can really see it here. Here's a great example. So we have your primary trend line there, and you have your secondary one coming up here, right, like that. So you get your breakout. Can everybody see that? See where I'm pointing out right there? There's your momentum push, the second W. That corresponds with this massive breakout of this trading range. Boom, up goes price. And you'll know that this trend has exhausted itself when this trend line is broken, which comes in right here. Right, so that's there, and so what does price do? It goes into consolidation. See how that works? It's kind of cool. So give you something to chew on. I don't know. Did anybody get any value out of what I just said there? I hope so. Maybe go back and play that a couple times. Okay, now hit the and keep in mind, Julian's putting together a nice little course module to sort of explain step by step all this stuff. So can't wait for that offering from him. So, okay. So the point that I was trying to make bigger picture was if we can accept above these levels, super important battle going on here, and just follow the short-term momentum. Quite literally, guys. I mean, I don't mean to shock people, but 95.37 up to 10,498. Wow. Kaboom. Oh, look at that cool car. Mo, you're the bestest. Although I'm not really a big fan of religion, so I don't know whether I would like him hanging around my car. I'm just kidding. Read the transcript. Yeah, you need the transcripts of these videos. That would be funny, eh? So I don't know the future, but crypto is the new religion. There you go. But anyway you shake it here, the market is, to me, it's trying to speak to me. It's trying to suggest that it wants to get up into here, and we have some pretty big fundamental catalysts coming here. And also remember too, I mean, guys, does that when I type this, let's see if anybody even knows what the heck it is when I type this. BFRN. Does anybody on YouTube know what the heck I type? What I mean when because I put this out on Twitter and stuff. So if you ever watch that Twitter show, it's not a bad idea to know what the heck it is I'm talking about here. Anybody over there? Andrew White seems to think I'm a swell guy, but Andrew, do you know what BFRN means? I'm just playing with you. I can't say that on YouTube, Benjamin. All right, there you go. So cold helped out Andrew. So Andrew, if you didn't know that, that's not a bad idea to write that out, right? And what I've found in my crazy career is there is certainly no fundamental justification for this theory to work. And I've seen this just so many times. I remember when the Dow was running up to 10,000, same thing. And you know, the stock channel shows would say, well, okay, so what is the fundamental reason for 10,000? Does it have any meaning? And they'd always go, no, it doesn't mean anything. But I would argue that this is more talking about human psychology. And what I've found repeatedly over my career, and what I found repeatedly through watching all the different markets, is that markets love to run to these big, fat, round numbers. It becomes a psychological magnet. So we have a really big, the crypto community has been for the longest time, how do we say this? Seeking approval, seeking acceptance, seeking kind of like a child looking at a parent, just validation. Am I good? Those kind of things. And in a weird sort of way, I think crypto is getting exactly what it wants. The only problem here, they say, is that careful what you wish for, right? You might just get it good and hard. So, for us to keep a level head through all this and actually be rational investors, we can't, guys, seriously, you can't get sucked up in this euphoria. You can't. You have to understand that the public is going to come in and they're going to be like, Bitcoin's the next best thing since sliced bread, fuck the US dollar, fuck, excuse my French, whatever. But you can't get sucked into the euphoria. Hopefully, hope. And this is the one reason why I absolutely love trading alts, is it basically is my way to mine Bitcoin. But hopefully you're long off the bottom, and as we work up, you're just slowly paying yourself and you're spoon feeding the market. But if anything, what I see here is the market is desperately seeking validation, and I think the market's getting it. The problem here, though, is does validation and sound money management, where the hell's the damn chart I wanted to show you? Does that go hand in hand? And making money from trading, right, and all that kind of talk, and getting sucked into euphoric blow off tops, they don't often go hand in hand. I thought it was really interesting. And actually, Jeremy, do I still have that? Yeah, that's the chart I'm missing. I was still looking at this chart and I couldn't find it. So get ready, folks. I mean, this could get pretty absolutely nutso over the next month or two. This could get really big. Why? Because we have this big sort of acceptance. Where are we here? This big acceptance event coming into the market. This CME event. I have it on here. Yeah, right here. So if I understand correctly, what's going to happen here is about the middle of this month, they're going to list these CME futures contracts, but it's going to be on sort of like a test bed scenario. And if I understand correctly, they want to sort of go live the middle of December. And I think, if anything, that is absolutely perfect sort of fundamental catalyst window for our nutso blow off top up top. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. Not a bad idea, actually, while we're talking about Bitcoin, just to check in on our little correctionator indicator chart. Where the hell I have that? I got it around here somewhere. Not that one. I think it was over here. Yeah, here we are. I've been talking to people about what I sort of think of is sort of the roadmap of current consolidations right now. Remember I just talked a few minutes ago about this 113 level and how I'm a little concerned about in the cash market. This could still be problematic here, so be careful, guys. No one said, I mean, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, even though this bull flag is basically straight up, nobody said this was going to be a one-way shot straight up here. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of back and forth through this. But our little roadmap, I guess I've been thinking, where the hell's the damn chart? There it is. Too many charts. Jesus H. Christ. I've been thinking for a while now that we've been following this June sort of correction path. This is what it still feels like to me here. We'll see. Only time will tell. I do like to just keep this roadmap sort of, relatively up to date on here, and I posted in the lounge just to sort of see where are we now. I think, no offense to anybody here, but this is a horrible place for you to be going and investing in Bitcoins. As we had sort of posted through this conversation, it sure seems to me that the market really likes to do these 50% corrections. And quite often we actually see multiple stabs at this sort of 50% level here through the corrections. So I wouldn't be surprised if there is a little bit more play against these lows. Only time will tell. And we're just going to have to roll with the punches. If we start to get fail signs from our, shorter term momentum indicators, we start getting divergences in MACDs, we start getting, divergences in OBV. If we start getting, our where the hell? These are too many charts on my screen. I can't see them all. Oh, yeah, it's over here. If we start getting, failure signs off our lower time frame momentum indicators, things like RSI M's coming in, then we have to get ready for some serious pullback here. It's not right now. And of course, this is Sunday, so it's kind of a funny time in the market anyway. Probably have like sort of a no man's land period here for the next 3 or 4 hours. Then we'll see the Asians basically start up there Monday morning, and we'll see what the Japanese have in store for us. If anything, you can make the argument on the hourly basis, right? You can see the W's. You can see, even the midpoint consolidation. There it is. It's as plain as day. And through class here. Actually, Seb, looks like you're going to win that competition after all. In our classes, we have little competitions here to call price. I think Rob was our big winner on the Saturday class. But anyway, that's a total side conversation. So anyway, long and short of all this is, and actually you can see I have to redraw these, but the long and short of it here is you can see the W's in the momentum. As soon as we start Ming out, right, that's when you can start looking for failure. It's not here now. Just let it come in. And if anything off the 4 hours, what I'm probably going to be asking, the big question is, does this sort of divergence pattern continue? And, if we start failing here and breaking down, then that paints our sort of, okay, well, this was an FU to 113s, and we got to look for some sort of dump here. So be mindful of that. It's totally still out there on the table. Okay, so that was about an hour long. Sorry, guys. Total blah, blah, blah. Sure hope you enjoyed that. Did anybody get any value out of that? Anybody in the lounge? What do you think, Mo? Did you was that of any value to you? Awesome. All right, let's take a quick boo. I have to head off for Liam in about an hour, so I'm not really pressed for time here today. Does anybody remember where we left off? So Andrew, are you here, Mr. Menaker? Is that Andrew Menaker? Andrew M? Andrew, that's you, isn't it? Yeah, Minecraft. Have you watched any of the Good Doctor's videos? Maybe you might really appreciate him. But anyway, so you had asked in here how late 1970s GC compares to BTC now. Did what I say earlier, did that sort of speak to that? I mean, no doubt about it. Late 1970s. Woo, Jesus. Could Bitcoin do this through this cycle? Don't. I wouldn't place a bet that this wouldn't happen. Let's put it that way. It's totally doable in my opinion. And I look at this gold chart here, and I'm just wondering, does gold, is gold finally going to start playing catch up here? Because I think gold, to a certain degree, should be pretty strong through this cycle. But we talked lots about that at the beginning of the show here today. Okay, Kevin says, did we leave off with MSP? Where the hell's MSP? Over here on Cryptopia? Was that remember Wayne? Was he asking about that? Maybe. All right, well, I'll take Kevin's call. And let's go look at TRST. Where should we do that? We might as well put that guy away for now. What was that symbol again? Trust, TRST. There's a name for an altcoin, eh? Wonder how many people just bought this coin thinking, well, it's got a name that says trust, so I should be able to trust them. Oh boy. I don't know, guys. I still think we could probably work our way a bit lower here. You can see where the bottom is, right? Can you see the W's right down in here? Nice moving average cross. You can see on the profile, right? There's kind of still a bit empty down in here. So be careful. And, you know, this is the crappy part about this space is seasonally, a lot of these altcoins love to bottom into the end of the year. It's just so normal. See, look at this, 2016, right? Tanked right into the end of the year. 2017 tanked right into the end of the year. And I've been just basically telling all the site members, right, that this is what you really should be expecting. And what's really interesting, Payment, are you here? We just had our team meeting, and I just said, you know, I've seen year after year after year, Bitcoin loves to top into the end of the year. And we were in our meeting, and I was blabbing on about something, and Payment's like, you know, Brian, actually, I just pulled up the chart, and I think you're right. So this, you know, what do these guys do? I don't know the fundamental story. Technically speaking, the good part about it is if you buy into something like this, you're not chasing the tops. This is where most of the public gets screwed in this business. They just buy up here. And it's just like, well, gee whiz, the guy on the message board said it was great, right? It was up quite a bit on the day, blah, 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 blah. So if you can just force yourself to participate down at the bottom end of ranges, you're doing yourself a big favor there anyway. I think you could make the argument there is a massive longer term W that's formed here. That's one reason why I like to work off of weekly charts. And I often suggest to a lot of, you know, level 1 new site members, hey, you want to make this really simple for yourself, go and find weekly W's. Looks like the request was TRST, not trust. Okay, so I'm not even looking at the right thing. Oh, that's pretty typical, eh? So anybody who is interested in TRUST, cool your jets. The cool part about technical analysis is it really shouldn't change. Yeah, if anything, you can see where these levels here, especially this 5581, I guess, that area down in there. And there's 605 right there. That's that breakout level. And you can see, look at the profile, eh? Just come in, trade below value. That's probably where you want to be a buyer. All right, so so somebody wanted to look at Bitcoin, and so for some reason I decided to pull up this. This is Bitcoin, right? No, Boise Cascade. All right, well, Bitcoin, let's see. Boise Cascade? No. All right, I'm just being stupid now. Okay, so TRST, that is not that's Trust Coin. Oh, what the fuck? Oh, this is even worse. Oh, Payment, what are you showing us here? What was it that you just posted in the lounge? See, now, so guys like Payment here, they try to sneak the queue, and they'll put a chart in the lounge, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, look what's going on over here. So I have to pay attention to it. All right, so NEOUSD on Phoenix. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. All our basic concepts, reload zones, POC. That's pretty logical. You could draw a simple trend line off of this low and this low. Probably comes in right in that area. You can see on the short-term basis, momentum, nothing to write home about. Maybe you wait, let the price come down into this level and wait for a nice W like this to form before you pull the trigger. Anything like that. What I really do like is that we've all gotten into the habit of identifying trade location really well. So as I had said just a moment ago, half of the problem in this space is people come in and chase uppy markets, and you just can't do that. Not allowed to. All right, so this guy, yeah, nothing really to write home about. I don't know what the story is here. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. They took the thing all the way down to 810 sats, sitting at 3,100 now. So you can see, you could very easily wake up and see 2/3 of your invested dollars gone. And that's the one thing you have to worry about in this space is not so much can I make money down the road, but if we do have to work our way lower, what kind of percentage return could I potentially get punched in the nose with? I'm not going to necessarily say this is a slam dunk that you're going to make money here, but my hunch is at some point in the spring, wicks and tails like to be eaten. I wouldn't be surprised we're trading up in this area sometime in the spring, summer. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. Weekly W's, it looks like they tried to put one in here. I often see this happens where they come down and into the tail, they'll put the W in. So if you wanted to time this purchase, I think you just wait for the nice, polite weekly W. Maybe you took this trade here. Didn't really translate into much. I think I would prefer the W to come in right near the bottom. Well, at least let's say the lower half of this tail. I think that's probably not a terrible expectation. And then also too, heading into seasonality, here comes the end of the year. If anybody bought this ICO or any time in here and they've got gains elsewhere that they have to think about, they could very easily blow this out just to book the capital loss. So I like the fact that you're interested against the bottom end of ranges. That's always good. Do we have an actual bottom working here? Nope. At this point, maybe nanny nibbles kind of idea, maybe strap on 1% on the books, and then just simply be nice and patient and wait for the real bottom to come in. All right, who's next? TENX, Strat BTC, Storage BTC, Descent BTC. Descent, I think Descent just gave us a goddamn Kavark. Bastards. Hate those guys. So I had my bid to add to the trade a little bit lower. But I noticed that, actually it's still sitting there. I might get my fill here. I thought it was just really interesting when I looked at this. I pulled it up this morning and I went, those sons of bitches. Because you can see that, actually I didn't want to change that chart. Save that. Daily. This to the hourly. I thought it was really interesting. Brian got all excited. Double bottom breakout. Going to go buy some. Didn't quite get a double. Would have been nice for the site had we gotten a nice double out of that. But, it's just the way it goes. Anybody who did take this trade and was like, shit, man, that's a lot of profits. I wouldn't scold you if you were just like, man, just take the money and run. I didn't. And if anything, as I think I told all you guys, I still have stink bids working off of this 78.6. And then I woke up this morning and I drew the fibs high to low, double bottom, and I noticed they brought the market right back against this 78.6 and turned it back up. So I was a little bit surprised at that, jerks. I would, for the record, still like to see the market trade back below value here so I can get my other fill and be loaded up on this name. I suppose one could argue very much just like all the other sort of coins we've been talking about here recently. We're coming into the end of the year. Here's December, January. Could we swim against these lows for a bit? Sure. We had the strong momentum trade here, the sort of pound the table. If anything, it kind of sucks, but that pound the table-iness of this trade has kind of played itself out. We're back to sort of just, is this really a bottom? And if anything, what I'd like to see here, and it might be, first thing Monday morning, we do see a W come back in and it's back to pound the table. For right now, it's just, okay, we're backing up against lows and we're still trying to determine whether this is the bottom or not. That's sort of the way I'm looking at this guy right now. And I find it really interesting that as, this was the fluff. This was the, oh shit, let's screw the public over. They just did nothing more than brought the market right back down against the original bottom. And now we're just going sideways here. So that's sort of what I see happening there. Do I think I can make money here heading into the spring? Going and buying this thing and adding it to the portfolio? Absolutely. I think, at these levels, I think there's easily a free position that's establishable here. And if anything, what probably happened was we had so many people at TRI buy, and they all started parking their orders up here, that when they ran the book up here, they looked at all our ask walls and said, there's no fucking way we're giving them any fills. And they just knocked the market back down. But I think that's what happened there, guys, to be perfectly blunt with you. This is an interesting name, just simply because I like the number of coins out. And I think there's a pile of money to be made here down the road. I am more than happy, anybody on the site, going and doing a nanny nibble here and just adding this to your portfolio. I think it's a fantastic little coin. Could it swim around here for a bit, especially considering year-end considerations? Yeah, that's totally realistic. Okay, so we'll do the Bugra. You got Descent out of your list, okay? Sure hope that makes you happy. Won't be able to make it to today's daily brief, but have a good day, everyone. Those ones seem to be Kavarkable with fundamental support. Yeah, well, that Descent looked pretty interesting there. PASC. Let's see what we got here. PASC. This thing's only on Polo? Yep, only on Polo. So, if you want to play the Polo game, great, go for it. Everybody caveat emptor. You all understand the risks that are involved. The interesting thing is I actually like the story. The whole idea of connecting blockchain with a computer programming language, I thought that was such a great idea. Doesn't look like the market liked it too much. And then, of course, we always have to ask ourselves, just because, you have a great sort of fundamental story, is there actually a use case? Like, can people actually, is there sort of, a buildable market base where people are going to want to own more and more and more of these coins? I don't know whether they've proven that yet here or not. Weekly M's and W's, I think, here, let's maybe pull this up to the weekly chart. It hasn't really been around that long, eh? So that in itself should give investors a bit of pause. And if I look at this weekly chart, it sure looks to me like they tried to double bottom it here, but it just cascaded to new lows. Boo, hiss, hiss, boo. And actually, this is a really good anecdote. Brian, you're the only commentator I know of that discusses the influence of seasonality despite its massive importance in crypto. Yeah, that's a good point, considering Fleabass. Fleabass? Interesting name. All right. Thank you for the input there, sir. There was somebody on the site this morning that was calling double bottoms on coins. And I just said to this gentleman, I said, you know what might make it really easier for you to see whether there's an M or W is just simply change your chart to a line chart. And then you see, oh boy, where did the W's go? So if in doubt and you're like, okay, maybe this is trying to W here. Not a bad idea to change your candle charts to line charts just to validate. And so as we can see here, there just isn't any signs of a W yet, which sucks. Because as I said, morally, opinion-wise, all that kind of stuff, I kind of like this story, and I was kind of hoping that these guys would make it work. So technically speaking, we can't really get excited until we start seeing some half-decent bottoming action. Give me a reason. Why is this thing going to bottom? The next best thing since sliced bread? What's the reason? Right now, I'm not seeing any reasons. Okay, okay, we did that. Stock, MGTI. All right. Let's see what we got there. MGTI. Boom. MGT Capital Investments. Well, I always like to look at weekly charts to sort of give me an idea of sort of floors and ceilings. Jesus Christ. This has definitely got to be a rolled back stock. I mean, there was no way this stock was $1,100 a share. So if you ever zoom out on a chart and you see $1,100, that just understand there's no way the stock ever traded at that. And I guess it was, oh, look at this. Oh, geez, it was $32,000 a share. How the hell does that happen? Well, what you have to understand is there's probably a ton of stock outstanding. And as they roll the stock back and consolidate it, then these old high prices that were maybe $2, $3 a share with, 100 billion shares out, if you roll the stock back and clean it up, these old highs have to be these insane highs. So I seem to recall somebody on the site was interested in this recently. When we look at these simple concepts like M's and W's, hopefully you can just see where the market bottom there. Hopefully it makes sense, and just like I said with that altcoin, you want to make this really easy. Just simply change the chart to a line chart and you can see the M's and W's a hell of a lot clearer. So hopefully it should be plain as day why this thing was so sexy right in here. And then also, too, what's cool is you can see when they brought the market down, you can see they brought it down here and somebody said, no, get your ass out of there. So clearly this is, quote unquote, the level. Now, what you got to be careful about is this is an OTC stock. Who can tell me how the disclaimer goes? Directors of this company have no legal obligation to do what? Thank you, Sebastian. Only one person. Oh, Daniel got it too. You have to understand on over-the-counter stocks, bulletin board, pink sheets, right, whatever you want to call it, there is no legal obligation for directors to tell you the truth whatsoever. Why do you think, guys, this stupid GBTC is trading where it is? Do you think it's because GBTC is so wonderful? Brian XAOS says, bleep, 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 BTC making history. All right. Thank you, sir. Does it make sense why this thing was so out of whack with Bitcoin's price? It should. I mean, even now, its last price $902. Are we at $9,000 on Bitcoin? How can they do that? Didn't anybody ask, like, why is this happening? Well, it's happening because these guys can do it. They don't have to tell you the truth. They can trade this fucking thing anywhere they want. Could be $10,000 a share. It's no difference to them. And you have to understand that with regard to OTC stocks. So be damn careful when you play these names, please. You need to have some sort of anecdotal evidence of value. If you can have some sort of, especially my hunch is what they did here was they rolled the stock back and consolidated it. And you can even see on the price charts, look at the size of this gap that they left. This is a weekly price chart. Can you see that gap, guys? So, there is an example where, all right, I'm just going to go, I'm not going to chase this thing. I'm just going to go work my bid at the gap and doink, you get your fill nice and politely. Now, the interesting thing here is because these candles, the bodies are at the top here of the gap, technically this gap is still open, We actually need to see a body come in and fill this gap to actually say, yes, this gap is done. So my hunch is this thing isn't finished here. Be careful here, whoever's interested in this. As well, too, we've got this A, B, C, D. Just technically speaking, just in the short term, I see a bearish chart pattern. I have no idea what these guys do. But my hunch is, isn't that interesting? Can you guys see how the AB equals CD is going to take us right back down to those lows? I got to sneeze. There we go. Okay, so long and short of it here, if you're interested in participating in this story, I think you want to concentrate on sort of, what is that, 40, 50 cents a share. Try and sneak in off of these levels down in here. All right, it is now 24 minutes past the hour. Why don't we do one more? And then we'll send you guys on your way. BMGTI is McAfee BTC Mining Company. All right. So, and the problem there is, and I think I've sort of talked to you guys a bit about this. Remember this clown said that his average cost to mine a Bitcoin was $1,000? Do you think he was telling the truth? I don't. So please understand, and that's the sad part about capitalism is and it's if anything, it's the reason why I built this site. Because I'm sick and tired of living in a world where you can't trust what people actually tell you, and that you can't actually believe somebody when they talk to you face to face. I don't like that world. Yeah, well, Mr. Mo, Alex always called blockchain is business without the paper shredder, which I love. I think that's a great analogy, right? But something like this is absolutely a polar opposite end of blockchain. If anything, this would be like investing in the SegWit blockchain right now. Isn't technically it broken? Somebody was saying today that the 2x chain actually has a whole bunch of flaws in its code. Is that right? Payment, didn't you say that was the case? It would be like going on Yobit and buying a coin that doesn't even have a blockchain. That would be like investing in this. You haven't got a fucking clue what these guys are doing, and you better be a sharpshooter, or else these guys are going to eat your lunch. So there's a nice friendly warning to the community. All right, GCR and Jamie, you're the, oh man, I can't wait. One day I'm going to swim over to the UK, I swear. I want to meet these people. If you get the opportunity, if you haven't met Jamie, reach out to him. Just one of the nicest people in the world. Swear, if I was gay, that would be the type of guy that I would go for. Sadly, I'm not, so you're safe, Jamie. But geez, just the nicest people in the world here. Well, what do you think? Definitely against the bottom end of his range, no doubt about that. Don't like the fact that it's breaking the new lows. That's not encouraging. My hunch is we have to wait for something like this to develop before we know that the bottom is in. I think on balance, I probably was going and buying back coins that I sold up top here. I was probably buying them back as we were coming up against these lows. I seem to recall I did some buying here recently. But as you can see, and so very typical seasonality in here, this is for you. Who said that? Considering Flebos, here's perfect example, right? Total cliche coming into year end. But notice this guy here, even into year end, he's still kind of soft through the first quarter of the year. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to have to be some serious consolidation here. I just don't see a heck of a lot going on in the short term. What's really interesting is if you look at the daily charts, look at this OBV divergence that's developed here. So somebody stepped up and placed some serious money to work here. But until we start seeing W's off the weekly charts, I can't see it turning just yet. This is going to be long, slow, and painful. So, just get comfortable. If you are long, nanny nibbles. If you bit off more than you can chew, maybe clean up the position. Don't put yourself into a position where you can get too hurt too badly over the short term. It sucks, but that's capitalism for you. Okay, EOS BTC. What time is it? I've been talking for about an hour and a half here, so I think I'm probably going to leave it at that for today. MACD div? Maybe. There? That looks like a bearish breakdown. Is that what you're talking about, Daniel? So there was a bearish failure here. It's trying to put in a bull div, but I don't know. That's kind of weak. And, think about grade 3 English, right? You go, look at this M, so well defined, eh? Grade 3 English teacher loves it. Go up to the chalkboard and you write that as a W, and she's going to be like, nah, I don't know, Daniel. Remember we talked about Los Angeles public school system, right? maybe she'll let you get away with it in LA. Anybody lives in LA? That was a joke. I used to live in LA a million years ago, and I went to public school in LA. Well, if anything, then she's going to want a better W, though, right, Payman? And that's the problem is you live in Sweden, so English teachers there, they, what does a W look like in Sweden? That's the question we have to ask you. Might be a totally different letter altogether. I don't know. Oh, and a British accent too. Oh, add insult to injury. All right, so if anything, perfectly normal. Altcoin market. What do you think, guys? Just nanny nibbles. Do you think there's odds that sometime over the next 6-8 months you're going to see this thing pop up to give you doubles? I say absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt, this space is volatile by nature. But is this, look, we got a W working, bull divs, rock and roll. We got to load up the boat here, pound the table? No. Simple as that. I do like the fact that Jamie is, though, looking against the bottom ends of ranges. That's the way you make fortunes in this world. Just don't put yourself into a position that if this thing goes off the board, then you're wiped out. Just don't do it. Okay, I think we'll leave it at that. I've been chit-chatting for about an hour and a half here today. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 all ready for tomorrow morning. And I hope everybody on the YouTube page enjoyed this offering. This is basically what we do on a daily basis, Monday to Friday. So if you enjoyed the experience, consider popping on the site. We actually have a whole new website coming up here in the new year, so with a whole bunch of fun tools. So if you do decide to join us, as you can see, we have lots of interaction on a daily basis with the site and lots of ideas for you to chew on a regular basis to spend your crypto fortunes. All right, I think we'll leave it at that. You guys have yourselves a great rest of your day. All the best, and bye for now.